Good morning, humanity. It is January 24th, 2022, and it's our favorite time of the week because it's Mondays with Bev and Paul. And hi, everybody, my name's Paul,
Good morning. This is Bev.
and we have a special guest today. We have the sleep detective.
Yeah. Welcome, Martha.
Yes, this is Martha Lewis from the CompleteSleepSolution.com. And take it away, Bev, because I got this echo here.
Okay. All right. Martha and I can handle it. You just be the techie today.
Okay, I'm here.
So, welcome, Martha. So great to have you here. And I just wanted to remind everyone Martha is our guest today because she's going to be our presenter at our monthly health condition workshop, which is on this Thursday, the 27th, and it will be on insomnia, which, people don't really consider that to be a dis-ease or anything, but I know, Martha, that if I don't get a good night's sleep, it starts building up other things in me. So let's just let you share with everyone, please, who you are, what you're doing, and your journey with this. I'm really excited. So take it away, Martha.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. Yeah,
Yeah.
so my name is Martha Lewis. I live in the beautiful town of Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Oh, really?
Very
Wow.
snowy there right now. Yes, and I call myself the sleep detective because I think that in most cases there is an underlying cause of insomnia of why people can't sleep. And we just have to figure out what that is. And I actually do lab testing to figure that out. But I got into this because of my own sleep struggles. So my insomnia started in late pregnancy, which I figured was just hormones, but it didn't go away even after my son was born, even after he was sleeping through the night, even after I had become a pediatric sleep consultant to help families with their kids sleep. I still wasn't sleeping. And to me, it looked like I would try to go to bed early because I was so exhausted, but it would take me forever to fall asleep. And then I would wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning and not be able to go back to sleep for a couple hours until it was 6 and my son was waking up for the day. And so I was exhausted, I was miserable, and I felt like a fraud because here I am helping other families with their sleep and I'm not sleeping. And so,
Ah,
yeah, I
interesting.
had a pretty long journey to figure it out. And the first thing I did was I took an adult sleep certification class where I learned about different habit changes and, um, a little bit about how diet affects sleep, how exercise, all of those kind of what I call now like the basic things, but in a very holistic viewpoint. And I made some changes to my schedule. I made some changes to what I was eating and when, to some of my habits. And I did start sleeping better, which was great. But then I went through a very stressful time in my life and my sleep deteriorated again. And all of those things that I'd already learned didn't help. And luckily, I've been in the health and wellness space for a long time. I got a master's in nutrition about 15 years ago. And so I learned about functional lab testing and I ended up taking a certification through functional diagnostic nutrition and becoming certified to run functional labs, to interpret them, and to give recommendations based on what I find. And so while doing the certification, I got to do the labs and found out I had hormone imbalance, which isn't surprising since it all started in pregnancy, but I also had a parasite in my gut. I had copper toxicity from being on birth control for years. I had definitely had an unhealthy gut and food sensitivities. And so once I started addressing all of those things and correcting them, then my sleep just kept getting better and better. And now I sleep great 95% of the time. Um,
Wow.
What happens to
yeah.
that other 5%?
You know, random things happen, but to me, it's not a big deal anymore. It's like,
Right.
sometimes I'll have a weird night and usually I can pinpoint it to something happening or that I did during the day. Or it's, I have a 5-year-old son. Sometimes he
Yeah.
wakes up in the night. So, yeah, but for the most part, I'm sleeping great. And so that's then what I help other people with is find out what's going on in their body that's causing this.
Wow. Well, I think it's so interesting because, we kind of like talk about how BioTouch is such a holistic, integrative system. And like I said in the beginning, people don't really consider, you think, oh, I have insomnia. Well, you can't sleep. But evidently, as a holistic unit, there's all these different layers, different aspects that are contributing to this one condition. And I know that if you don't rest well, if you don't sleep well, everything starts, like you say, the stress and the depression. So this is, I think a lot of people are experiencing that more and more as we go through this very, stressful, tension-filled time in our history. And so I'm kind of, when you were talking about the lab, is that like a sleep tank? Is that what is that? Tell us more a little bit about what you mean by doing this lab work.
Yeah, so it's functional medicine lab, so it's different than blood work. So
Okay.
I do a hormone test that uses urine. I do a gut test, the GI map, that's a stool test, shows what's living in your gut.
Oh.
I do a food sensitivity test and a hair tissue mineral analysis that uses hair to look for your mineral status and heavy metals. So it's tests like that are what I'm talking about.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. I just thought, you were in there like making notes while somebody's sleeping.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
But
no, that's what they do during a sleep study, and mainly to diagnose sleep apnea and other disorders.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's different than what I'm doing.
Right.
So has your whole journey been in just the last 5 years? You said with your son,
Yes.
and he's just
Wow.
5 years old now.
Yes.
Wow. So you've gone through this whole period in 5 years. What was your studies before you got involved in this whole work of sleep?
It was nutrition.
Oh, that's what you graduated with, was nutrition?
Well, I mean, a long time ago, I graduated with an English major, English literature.
Also in Wyoming?
No, in South Carolina.
Oh,
Wow.
really?
Yeah.
Well, you've been traveling around.
Yeah.
South Carolina and Wyoming. Yes, that's it.
That's pretty cool. Well, I'm, every time we have one of these workshops with a guest presenter, I'm just blown away by how much I don't know about that particular condition. I really think that the timing of this workshop and having you with us is very telling on what's going on in our society, because my daughter happens to be an RD, and she works at a hospital, and so it's amazing to me, but not surprising maybe, how much our diet plays into all these different, it's like this old saying, you are what you eat. But I'm always really fascinated by, we're such an intricate little composite here, that eating is so primary to all these other conditions that happen to us. And the fact that I never thought about insomnia having anything to do with what I'm eating. When you talk about the gut, well, actually, like we have these conditions called GERD. What do you think about that? I mean, if people eating late at night, it contributes, right?
Yeah, I mean, diet plays a huge role in our health. And I see not being able to sleep as a health issue, because I mean, a healthy body knows how to sleep, right? We need sleep.
Yeah.
So I do see it as a health issue, and diet is so important for that. And, we have available to us so many inflammatory foods in the world that is crazy to think that weren't available even 100 years ago. So, I mean, processed foods, like even just refined flour and sugar and canned goods, those became available in the 1920s and 30s.
Right.
And that is
You're
how,
right.
and our diet has drastically changed in the past 100 years since that.
Wow.
So, yeah, so I think when people go back to eating for paleo times, I don't even think we have to go back that far. Like just
Absolutely right.
200 years ago, we ate completely differently.
Yeah.
And so, yes, like our bodies have not evolved to deal with all the food, the fake food that we're putting in it right now.
Oh, that's a good point. And so we're an organic entity here. And when we put in Frankenfood, our bodies don't know what to do with that. So
let me ask a question too.
Yeah.
So how do you work with people then? I mean, do they have to come to Jackson Hole and freeze their butt off?
but it's gorgeous there.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, what's great about these tests is that I can actually work with people all over the world because I order the tests and they get sent to their home. And then they send them back to the lab and then I get the results. So yeah, I've worked with people in Israel and Singapore and the UK and Croatia. So
that's amazing. I'm really excited about that because you know this whole internet web is allowing us to go beyond our little borders. Well, I'm kind of curious why you or how you came up with this nomenclature of the sleep detective. I love that. Tell us about that.
Well, because I see it as I'm looking for all these clues of what's going on in your body. And I do believe too, I mean, that mental stress plays a role as well because that affects our body and vice versa. So, but my goal is to find all the different clues. What's out of balance that could be causing this? And I gather all those clues, get this big picture of what's going on, and then help give a plan to address those things.
So are you finding that there's like a common thread? Like I know we've talked about the diet and of course the mental stress, but you know, we're all kind of connected and we're not really inventing anything new. We're all kind of like experiencing life. It might be in different places on the planet, but it's you know, we're connected. So are you know, have you built up a base, like a database of all of this, you know, because you seem to be a little bit more, you're not just some dietitian out there going, you need to eat more fruit. You know, you're a little bit more functional medicine. That's kind of a new thought form in the healing community, I think. So tell what is functional medicine in your field?
Yeah, well, we think of, you know, doctors, blood work and things like that as being meant to diagnose disease. So functional medicine isn't looking to diagnose anything specific. It's more looking at how different systems in the body are working, what isn't working properly, to find what's called the root cause of symptoms. Because insomnia and any symptom can be caused by different things for different people. Like, yes, there are some commonalities between people and definitely things that I'm looking for that tend to be frequent with people with sleep issues.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how I describe functional medicine as, and instead of trying to prescribe a drug to deal with something, it's more going in deeper, finding out what's causing the dysfunction and supporting the body so that to prevent disease really in the long term.
Yeah, I absolutely love that for its own sake, but it also reminds me of the whole premise of BioTouch, because we don't, you know, we make a point of saying we don't need to diagnose or suggest anything. We just touch and the body as a functioning organic entity knows what to do with that wherever we're touching on the body. So I'm really excited about you being a part of this, workshop coming up, because I really think, Martha, that where you're going is the future of medicine. And I'm really excited for you to be out there with your detective work. And I certainly have a whole, by the time we're all done, by the time Thursday is over, I'm gonna have a whole nother idea about what insomnia is.
Right.
For
So
sure.
if people want to contact you, they can go to the website there, the completesleepsolution.com.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And just for those who haven't been to the site yet, her story is there also. What do you do when your 5-year-old doesn't sleep?
Well, luckily it's very few and far between.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Even when he was an infant?
Well, he was a horrible sleeper as an infant, which is how I got into being a pediatric sleep consultant. But he's been a great sleeper, like since I did that, since he was 3 months old, really. So yeah, feel very
well.
lucky.
And you've been able to introduce to him at a very early stage a whole nother way of feeding his body. Yeah. So that's got to be a telling point on him having a good sleeping pattern, because he gets to not have all that food that in a can and
now
everything else.
He still gets a birthday cake, I'm sure.
That's okay. That's okay.
Unfortunately,
Then he doesn't sleep that night.
Right. He's all over the place.
Yeah. I wish I could say he eats 100% perfectly, but
Yeah,
the world
right.
is out there. And
I don't think there's anything 100% perfectly.
Yeah. So you work with everything from pediatrics to the elders, huh? The whole age range?
Well, I don't really work with babies anymore.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that was more behavioral, and what I'm doing now is more health based.
Okay.
So I could work with children, who have tried the behavioral stuff and that hasn't worked. And obviously there's something more going on. But yeah, I'm mainly working with adults of all ages. Yes.
All right.
We're Paul and I have talked about this before. We're finding out that babies are born already immune deficient, and a whole nother generation that's already compromised.
Right.
And so I'm just wondering, like your 5-year-old, if parents could understand that a lot of their issues with their children, whether it's not sleeping or depression or whatever, really does have a connection to what they're eating.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, I could see this where all kinds of things could happen, but I'm just happy that there's a sleep detective in the world who's going after this thing, because
we're looking forward to her showing up this Thursday. Let me share. It's going to be this Thursday, 6 p.m. Arizona time. It'll be live streamed on Facebook and YouTube and a couple of other platforms if you happen to be with that. Martha will be here to give us more details about sleep, what it is, the issues, more details on how to take care of it. Today, we just wanted to learn mostly about who she was. And it was an awesome little journey, Martha.
Yeah, who knew that something so kind of torturous would become my life purpose?
Right. Good for you. Well, we look forward to hanging out with you Thursday evening again. Thank you much for joining us today. And we look to see everybody again on Thursday and also next Monday. So take care. Thanks, Martha. See you, Bev.
See you, everybody.
Bye.
all around to the sun. They come here every day. They do a lot of touching and they do it without pay. They all do it gladly because they are so sweet. Bless the staff of practitioners down on Plymouth Street. Once they all had ailments, stress and other things. They know how to get relief, that's what bio-touching brings. They love helping others, people like you